Howdy y'all. Well, it has been an interesting 2 weeks since the last video, full of plenty of ups and downs on my game dev journey. We are going to be taking a look at the progress that I've made on my naval combat game today. I have all the basics in place now for the ship-to-ship combat, so I'm really excited to show you that. But I did have to travel for work, which took a week of progress away from me. And shortly before I left, I saw a video about blogging, even about your boring day-to-day stuff, could be super engaging and very interesting. So I did take a stab at that while I was on the trip. And well, the little bit of montage you're seeing right now is all you're going to see of everything that I recorded on that, because yeah, no, that was boring as hell. So let's go ahead and actually get into the progress I made this week on the game. So back in devlog 1, I showed that I'd made good progress on the boarding action part of the combat. So now I wanted to work a little bit on the actual ship-to-ship combat. So what I did is I was using that same ship model. I kind of zoomed out a little bit and started setting things up so that I could have a few ships, have them get pushed around by the wind, make sure that it was updating their headings appropriately based on how they were getting pushed and how they were reacting to the water. For the most part, that was going okay. You can see after I added in the basics of the wind control, I gave the ability to have some ships just get pushed by the wind itself, others that you can kind of control and try to set the actual heading for. The wind will automatically change speed and directions at given points in time, and the waves will all react appropriately. So far, so good. But you may have noticed that the ships weren't quite, reacting as well to the waves as I wanted them to. I wanted their buoyancy effects to be a little bit more pronounced, which ended up costing me way too much time messing around trying to figure out how to make that work. Get into these odd situations where the ships would start acting like they were speedboats, so the faster they were going, their nose would start to rise up, and then if they were going fast enough, they'd actually start to fly, which was obviously not good. Made a bunch of changes to that, ended up causing them to sink instead, which wasn't particularly great. Basically, the movement and controls and everything, it just wasn't nearly as responsive or behaving the way that I actually wanted it to. But then I got to thinking that, part of the problem with a lot of the buoyancy stuff is that, it's kind of custom and specific to the ship that you're actually working with. And so what I wanted to do was, since I intend to have there be multiple different ship types in the game, I should really be working with the models that I'm going to do. And I did find a particular artist who actually had 4 different style ships, all in the same visual art style, so that would work well for me. So I switched over to using those, and as you can see, you've got from a little tiny brig all the way up to an 80 gun ship of the line here that's possible, which is kind of exciting. And they all do, once I set everything up, would react differently to the wind depending on their specific characteristics. But I was still having a problem with them flying up in certain situations when it occurred to me that really the game that I'm modeling off of was more of a top-down view, which obviously, it was from 1984, right? So they weren't going to have advanced 3D models for everything. But I wanted to have a little bit more of that more nostalgic feel, so I decided that I would see what it would look like if I switched everything over to an isometric view of the combat instead. And I really liked the look of how the models looked when it was in isometric, and so I started, I've kind of reshifted everything over there. It gets rid of some of the need to worry about all of the different buoyancy details. I'm going to add some of them back in, but this let me get moving again on the stuff that really mattered to the game, of being able to actually control the ships and whatever. Having made that decision now, I wanted to switch over to actually controlling the ships the way I wanted to. So one of the things I wanted to do was make sure that you could have a line of ships and be able to control them and give them orders. So set things up so that you could have ships be told to follow the leader, or to have their own specific commands associated with them, and then started to add in all the kind of the niceties of visual controls, right? To be able to know which ship you're controlling at what point in time. These are the buttons that are on the screen here are really, they're just some temporary controls. Obviously, I will have something more tailored specifically to the game. And then I wanted to get into the basics of combat. Did get some basic animations in place, so you can actually see, if you happen to be zoomed in, you can see the cannons rocking and have you, and the firing out. I wanted to set it up so that you'd have an option to be able to see where your cannon shot was likely to land. Now, ignore these pink lines. I'll replace that with something, much more appropriate when the time comes. And I also intend to let you have 3 different firing angles, so kind of depending on the specifics of your crew or what have you, what you're capable of doing and being able to elevate or lower the guns. And then lastly, now adding in the cannonballs themselves, making sure that they splash when they hit the water, or they cause some type of damage when they actually encounter another ship. So yeah, the focus for next week now will actually be to add some AI control to the other side, so it doesn't just sit there and let you pound on it, and then add the wind effects back in, because right now it's just kind of letting the ships go wherever they want, regardless of what the wind setting is. And then, of course, linking the two together so that if the ships actually get close to each other, you can engage in that boarding combat that I showed previously. I would, of course, love it if you gave this video a like, and if you're not subscribed, what are you waiting for? Go ahead and subscribe, and you can get the rest of the updates as it progresses. Thanks, y'all, and have a great day.